Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to SNES's Life. This is recap number 90, which means 450 games into the Super Nintendo Entertainment System library. Super excited about that. We're really going well after, 4 years, 5 years. We're really going, we're getting there. But today we're going to be covering, we got Bubsy II, Lord of the Rings, Volume 1, Mario's Early Years, God Almighty, Hammerlock Wrestling, and then finally Math Blaster. So let's get started. First up, we got Bubsy 2. Jeez, it's just a repeat of Bubsy 1. Graphically, I think the game is pretty on par with Bubsy 1. It looked kind of the same. It had that same feel, that same sound. This game did have some added elements in things like this right here. So you're riding this ship. It's kind of a shmup level. There's, I think there was one where you had like a rocket pack or something as well. And I can appreciate the change up, the addition there. Instead of collecting yarn balls in this one, you're collecting, I think it's marbles. But it's still, the momentum and the controls feel loose and sloppy. And it's not as fast paced as the last one. So you don't lose control quite as much. But it still wasn't a very fun game. I didn't care for it. I gave it a thumbs down. There are just so many better platformers to play. Next up, Lord of the Rings Volume 1. There's not a Volume 2, so that'll tell you how well this one did. But it definitely had some interesting concepts. And I think one of the interesting things is that this is a multiplayer game. So you end up with the four hobbits and Aragorn at some point. Now, I never got... I got, Sam and I think Pippin. And I never found Merry, and obviously I didn't get to Aragorn. And I don't know how far through the Lord of the Rings that this game takes us story beat wise. And it's not the best looking, but it's acceptable. Like it looked good enough. And one of the interesting things is, there's a little bit of delay to your attack, which is forgivable. But if you had the SNES multi-tap adapter, as you collected the other hobbits, other people could control them. And then eventually player one would take control of Aragorn. I don't know if you could actually have 5 players if you put the tap in 2 and then had the 5th controller. Maybe 5 people could play this game at once, which would be pretty awesome. Because as it is, you can see I've got one of the hobbits with me there fighting some wolves. The AI control for your allies is just horrendous. Like, I walked away from them and they never followed me. They would just pop onto the next screen when I left the screen. They would swing their swords and kill things, but very slow. And as you kill things, you level up, and leveling up's kind of important for you get more HP for it. And you basically can't let anybody die because they're kind of necessary for the story, and so you game over at that stage. It was neat. The levels were very large and labyrinthian, which does not feel like the movie because... I guess in the book they go through the barrows, which is where they get some of their starting swords and stuff. But, I don't remember them, having to wander through a bunch of caves early on. As soon as, at the very beginning, you're like, hey, go to these caves right after Bilbo's party. I don't know. The music and sound was okay. The gameplay was ho-hum. I understand why they didn't make a second one. It was neat. The concept of having 5 players play it was really cool and interesting. And I think it might be fun to try it that way someday. I don't own this physical. I probably never will. It's probably cheap. It's probably dirt cheap. But it's just not something I'm going to search for. I gave this one a thumbs down. Next up, Mario's Early Years, Fun with Numbers. I am pretty sure I'd have to go back and look. I know I did Fun with Letters, and I think I might have done Fun with Numbers that same night because Fun with Letters took 15-20 minutes to get through, and this is it's very simple addition, math, addition, subtraction problems, or pick the number that matches or pick the number in the sequence. This is for really little kids, like preschool learning, and I get it. And for that, it was probably fine back in the 90s, but I'm sure that there are educational games way more entertaining than this now. It looked mediocre, it sounded mediocre, obviously it played like it was made for a preschooler. So if you have a preschooler, it might be worth looking up. I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to thumbs down it. Don't bother. Not worth the effort. Next up, Hammerlock Wrestling. I loved what they were trying to do here. I don't think they executed it right. So they split the screen into threes, as you can see. The middle screen is the actual gameplay, and then the top bottom are kind of like cutscene action. And occasionally, when you do something impressive, it'll cut to, right here. The video takes up 2/3, and then the gameplay goes to the bottom. And then it, after that kicks out, it moves around again. And it's really interesting, but it's also super like seizure disorienting because it's flashing all over the damn place constantly. I think a much more intelligent thing would have been like to take 2/3 of the screen with the gameplay, leave the top bar as your thing, and maybe when you do a big move, then you could cut down to 2/3 as the cutscene type animation, and then you like when they kick out of the pin, then go back to 2/3 gameplay. Like as it is, where it's moving up and down constantly, it's really disorienting. I didn't care for that. The game looks actually really good. Like the pixel work on those cutscene sections at the top and the bottom are really good looking. The shading's nice. I think they did a really excellent job on the animation. The gameplay portion of it is a little more rudimentary, but it still looks pretty good. The sound was okay. I don't remember already if I think there might have been music in it, but it would have been real light and in the background for me to have not remembered it at all. My problem with this one was the gameplay. It felt like there was a little bit of delay when you attacked, and timing was very, very important. And it felt like the stronger moves that hurt your opponent were grapple moves. The problem with that being that when you grapple, and if you read this and look on the internet, I looked at GameFAQs, it's like, what the hell? And then you look in the manual. Even the manual is like, you're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot before you get to this. But in GameFAQs, people are like, basically the second you go into grapple, the game only takes the first input that gets hit. And how you're supposed to out-input a computer is beyond me. Like, I lost pretty much every grapple I did over in 40 minutes that I played it. I think I won like 3 or 4 maybe. So many. Just every time you even start to grapple, boom, you're on the ground. Boom, you're on the ground. Boom, you're on the ground. And it was really, really irritating to the point of where I just utter frustration. I think the game looked great, and maybe if you put enough time into it, you could get there to where you could get that timing thing down. But God, I can't imagine how much time that takes, and I'm not willing to sit through it. So I gave this a thumbs down. I can respect what they did visually with it. I think they probably could have executed that a little better, and the gameplay definitely could have been better. So thumbs down on this one. If you're gonna play something, go play Natsume Championship Wrestling. That one was really good. Or I think it was WWF Royal Rumble. I really enjoy as well. Finally, we got Math Blasters. I finished this game. Unsurprisingly, this is another edutainment game. You are learning math. You are basically answering math problems to get through the game. Not hard. Not hard at all. And there's like 3 levels of this, and then there's like a cave level, and then there's the last level where there's 3 stages of more math problems to defeat the enemy ship. This, I would give my kids this over the Mario's early years Fun with Numbers thing. Fun with Numbers, I think, is more preschool. This is more, first, second, third grade maybe, because you can. So I'm just doing basic addition here because we wanted to get through the game and see as much as we could. But you can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, so you can make the game harder, and that's nice. But it's a basic edutainment game. Again, I'm sure that there are better games than this out there now on the internet that you can find for your kids to play and learn math. I gave it a thumbs down, so that's 5 thumbs down for recap number 90, which that's pretty rough go, But we can hope for better in the future, and yeah, that's where we're at. 450 games down now. Pretty excited. So thank you guys for sticking with us and checking it out, and I will see you back with the next recap 5 games from now. Peace, y'all.